It must be Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because we are fired up live, Lisa. We are fired up live. Episode 2 already. How are you?
I'm doing swell.
You're
How are
doing
you?
you're doing swell?
I am. I'm doing great.
All right. Well, good. So we're here today. We're fired up live here in New Jersey on a nice gloomy day where the temperatures have subdued a little bit. So that's a good thing.
I know. Have you seen those insane temperatures in Arizona? 120.
Yeah. I
I
saw
saw Josh posted about it, and I'm like, that's
uh,
absolutely insane.
Josh Zolan was posting about it, Corey at Alpha Omega, and Josh put out a nice post too, reminding everyone that these are men and women, not machines, and we have to, be understanding on a lot of situations. Sometimes they got to come off the roof. I mean, this heat is incredible, and it could be, there's a safety issue here. So anyway, it's summer all over, and we're feeling the heat, but not to fear because I think there's 104 days to Halloween. Anyway. We have a very, very special episode today and lots of special episodes to come. So if you're with us, make sure you jump in, you say hello. Any comments along the way, make sure you get them going. Any questions along the way, make sure you get those going. Lisa will be here and helping and monitoring. I see Jason Hartman just popped in. Jason Hartman, what's going on, my friend? Um, and we're going to have a beautiful episode here today. Today we're talking robotics. We're talking all about the food service industry, hospitality, all the applications that we're starting to see all this stuff become more and more prevalent in. And we're looking at this from how these things are going to help shape the industry moving forward. So we have a special guest today. I'm going to let him introduce himself, so we'll bring him in right now. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Burak from United Robotics Group. Welcome, Burak.
Hey, Rich, how's it going?
Very good, very good. Do me a favor and do a little intro background on yourself so everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Burak Achey, based out of Pennsylvania. Currently working for a company called United Robotics Group. Our main focus is robotics, kind of helping serve people, right? So that's really what we want to focus on. And there's a lot of talks about robots taking over, things like that, but that's not our belief, right? Our belief is that we should be using technology to help us, to serve us, to make our lives easier. So I've been in automation and robotics for about the past 15 years now, from contract manufacturers to OEM equipment manufacturers, mainly in the manufacturing space, a little bit of logistics, machine vision, automation, robotics, kind of done it all, and excited for this new growth in the hospitality and restaurant world. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. And United Robotics, we kind of came across you guys at the New York show and happened to be walking by and this is kind of one of those things where you talk about the wow factor and the cool factor part of it. I mean, I'm walking by, I'm turning the corner, I see this cute little robot just muddling around the booth area, and I'm like, I think I'm going to stop and go in and check this out. And that's kind of really how it came to my attention. And since then, obviously, you guys have partnered with 24/7 restaurant equipment here in New
Yep.
Jersey. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to pick your brain on some things. We have a couple of questions we set up, and we'll have an open conversation, brother. This is just very
For
light.
sure.
We just want to listen. This is a fun conversation. I think how robotics. I mean, it's exciting times in our industry. So how has robotics technology specifically transformed the food service industry in recent years, from your perspective?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, when you think about kind of the different type of operations in a restaurant, right? You have the back of the house and you have the front of the house, right? And they serve two different purposes completely, but they're all trying to get to the end goal. Consistency, good food, good service, trying to help people as much as possible. Ever since 2020 happened, and it kind of changed the landscape of a lot of industries, and the service industry being one of them. Getting people into the workforce, at the labor rates that you're looking for is a difficult task anymore. People kind of want new and exciting things in their lives. And, sometimes some of those jobs just aren't being filled the way they need to be filled. And that's where automation and robotics really can help serve people, right? We still want to go to restaurants. We still want good food. We still want all the things that come with that. But, we need to be able to fill those positions, and we need to be able to do the tasks that's needed. If you think of the back of the house operations, repetitive tasks, that's a great option for automation and robotics, right? The ability to, cut a pepper up in the same size every time, onions, whatever it may be, making dough, things that we use already, like a dough mixer. I think it's a great example of a robot that isn't technically seen as a robot, right? I mean, we're not sitting there by hand kneading a big ball of dough to cut it up into pies, right? We're using a machine to kind of help us and kind of work through that. And that's where, we have it. It's just coming into a little bit stronger and a little bit different ideas. And, I was scrolling through LinkedIn the other day and I saw an avocado cutter, slicer, and kind of chopper.
Yes,
You saw that.
I just came across that. It was I think it's called Autocado, and I see Chipotle. I think is putting some in their locations.
I mean, think of how much time that saves, right? I mean, that's a 2-3 hour task that now gets done in an hour, 30 minutes, something like that. You just load up the hopper and you let it do its thing.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, they're estimating 50% labor cut just by using that.
I mean, that pays for itself in a year at the end of the year, probably. I mean, just depending on costs and things like that. So, it's stuff like that where, things are here, but I think the innovation to come is going to be really interesting, right? You think about, I apologize, my light just fell. If you think about things where, things that aren't typically dishwashing, right? I mean, that's a great example. Every restaurant has the same types of dishes. They have the same type of dishwasher. It's the same task over and over again. There's going to be a really interesting boom in what's available and kind of what's coming to the market with some of that stuff. And then we move to the front of the house, right? You got to get the food from the back to the front. And this is kind of where United Robotics Group is starting in this automation field, is being able to keep your servers out on the floor, have them being customer interacting, and just kind of working with your customers, and then having the food come to them and then being able to present to your customers. I mean, saving a run back and forth, higher turnover rates for your customers, more service for your customers. They get what they want when they want it, and they're being helped as needed. We offer pepper as well. That's being seen front of houses, interaction, things like that. And, people are already using POS systems. They're already cloud connected. So it's kind of just that next step, the next evolution of kind of where we're going with robotics in this industry.
Yeah, it is. And talking about the front of the house, I think there's a lot of conversation of always, the robots they're coming to take our jobs, and servers and different people in the hospitality sector are saying to themselves, oh, well, I'm not going to let them take my job. We're going to fight this. We don't want them here. But in reality, it's quite the opposite. It's really there to help the human, the server and the people doing the job, right?
Definitely. That's the last thing we want. People aren't going away. At the end of the day, people aren't going away. We still need to have people. We still need to have that human interaction. I mean, the social aspect of life, of being a person, we still want to interact with people, but why not make our lives easier if the technology's there?
Exactly. So what are the main advantages of incorporating robotics into the food service industry? We kind of touched on some things, but
Yeah, no, I mean, jumping in, I mean, right away at the end of the day, you're dealing with business owners all day long, right? At the end of the day, how much profit can you make? Are your costs lower than what you're making? That's kind of what it comes down to, right? I mean, your savings there are just going to exponentially kind of grow by being able to kind of repeat these tasks that are needed. At the same time, it's one of those things where you're helping make life easier for yourself, right? You know what you're going to get. You're not having to train something over and over again, or a new employee every 6 months when they decide to jump and go somewhere else, and now you got to train them your new processes. So these things are going to learn it once. You're going to tune it in, get it to where you want it, and then it's just going to run and go. That peace of mind is incredibly useful. And it's kind of something like manufacturing, right? I mean, if you think about, when you go buy a can of Coke from, the store, what you're getting, it's packaged right, it's labeled right, exactly what's on there. And that's because of automation, right? Automation made that possible to have that consistency of that product over and over again. And, that's really where you get the benefits of automation and robotics.
Yeah, No, I agree. I mean, it's the restaurant industry. So we probably could argue, and maybe it's not even really a debate, the hardest business on the planet, right? To be able to be so consistent every single time. I've talked about before. If I go to my favorite restaurant to get chicken franchise on a Tuesday, and then I go back on Saturday, I'm expecting it to be the same. If
Yeah.
it's not, that's where these people risk reviews. I see it all the time. Oh, we've been going here for 3 years and it's great. And we went on this past Wednesday and it was terrible. And you come to find out that maybe the chef was off or the main guy that does it. It really does affect a business. And when you can put things in place that are consistent, that's what people want. People want the same experience when they if they visit you, they want the same experience. So, having something like talking about Play-Doh, it learns the lay of the land. I mean, let's talk a little bit about Play-Doh quickly. Just
Yeah.
how you map everything, and it's consistent.
Yeah, for sure. So Play-Doh, I mean, this is where it really shines, right? I mean, we come in, we walk Play-Doh around your restaurant. From what I've seen and what I've deployed out in the field, we're up and running in about 90 minutes. And that is from box to servers pressing buttons to make it go. We come in, we use a 2D LiDAR scanning system that goes around your entire restaurant, and we just map out the edges, and then we kind of fill in the blanks. We see where your tables are, we see where your walls are, your pathways, and then we work with the owners, the servers, back of the house, front of the house, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. How do we kind of get Play-Doh to where it needs to be and where it wants to be in order to work with the servers the best, right? So whether that's putting it directly to the table at a fast service restaurant or a quick service restaurant, or maybe in a full service restaurant, we're having it go to a group of tables. And that way it's kind of sitting there and waiting for you to kind of grab that food off and present it to your customers. The adage of, are people losing their jobs because of robots? It's one of those things where, it's just allowing the server to do more, right? It's another tool in their handbook, right? Instead of writing down the orders on a piece of paper, they're now just pressing it into a little phone on their for their POS.
Right.
Again, another tool to make things go a little bit faster.
Yeah, and I see so much, with the consistency again, being able to interact with your customer. If you're a server, obviously tips are a big mainstream part of that income. If you could spend more time with the guest and you could just kind of Play-Doh, I could just envision Play-Doh rolling over and you're taking things, you're putting it on Play-Doh, you're getting now, hey, let's get another round of drinks going, let's get some dessert. You get to continue to be there with them. I think, if I'm in that sector and I'm running a business or restaurant, I feel like that's going to help improve morale because these people are going to now get to interact longer, maybe get a little bit more personal, and that might equate to more, larger tips. That's how I see it.
No, I think it's a great point to bring up. I mean, how many times have you sat at a restaurant and you waited for minutes for your plates to be cleared, right? You're waiting to get the check, you're waiting to get another drink, you're waiting to, order dessert, whatever that may be. The ability for the server to always be around makes your experience more enjoyable, and it makes their experience more enjoyable because they're able to just pass things out. So, it's how you use it, it's how you adopt it. And I think the adaptation, it's very relevant to the manufacturing industry of 20 years ago, of bringing in these collaborative robots and other robotics and things like that and integrate that in. The same types of challenges are there, and, experience in this industry will kind of help guide and kind of push that through. So it's exciting.
100%. And I think Lisa has some comments or questions coming in.
Yes. So we've got a question here relevant to what you're talking about here. But will the robot see a fly in the soup and perform quality control?
I think that's a great question. It's one of those things where you think about, if a server is walking your food out, right? What are they going to do if they see a fly in the soup? Are they going to take it back? If you're in a full service restaurant and the server is taking the tray from Play-Doh to the customer, they're still going to see that fly, right? If you're in a quick service restaurant, more than likely you're getting your food served to you in a box with a cover on it, with a lid, something like that. So you're going to be protected from it anyways. And obviously, not all cases are going to be covered, but at the same time, this is where the adaptation comes in. How can we adapt to make our lives easier by maybe doing something different than what we did before? It's just change management theory of how do you now operate your restaurant with the help of robotics versus fighting robotics and saying that, it may not work because of this, or it may not work because of this. These are just challenges to overcome and opportunities to succeed and be even better in life.
Yeah, and I think, finding that fly in the soup. I hope I don't find the fly in my soup. But if that's happening and that occurs, I think there's different things in place at most restaurants. You have the person that's expediting the food and making sure they're doing the checks and stuff like that. And there's still there's still the human there that's going to be catching those things. I don't think that's necessarily, if we're talking specifically Plato. I don't think really that's not really Plato's job per se. Plato's job is to assist with delivery, with removal of things and stuff of that nature. So there may be a time where there's a robot, maybe that's going overhead along the cook line, that's checking to make sure there's no foreign objects in there. I mean, I could see that. I mean, but I think it was a great question. Yeah.
No, I think that, I mean, you bring up a good point. I worked for a company before this. It was a AI startup that did vision quality control. And we actually worked with a couple food manufacturers and, pizza, frozen pizzas, things like that, granola bars, things like that. We had a vision system that made sure that there was no flies in your soup, or, there was no particulate. They had a problem with rubber gloves from the workers that would get snagged and cut off into their granola. So the
wow.
vision system was there to say, hey, you have a foreign object in your material. This is just the expansion of this automation practices that can be had within the food and restaurant business. So, there's always solutions, right? It's just how willing are you to adapt and kind of bring those solutions into the industry. And honestly, this is where it's exciting, right? The impact of robotics of food industry. There's so much technology out there that can be applied. It's just, who's willing to do it?
100%. We have more, Lisa?
Yep, there's another question here, and Burak, that was an awesome answer. Kudos for that. Like that was great. How are robotics manufacturers working with service techs to ensure repair or preventative maintenance easier, or what innovations need to be made to facilitate that?
It's a great question. So, me being on the post-sale side of things right now, I was a field service director a couple jobs ago. I love the post-sale side of things, and this is automation. Things can go wrong sometimes. Things break down. Malarkey Cares. It's you guys have a whole service business, right? I mean, you wouldn't be in business without the ability to kind of go in, fix, repair, upgrade, things like that. This is something that needs to happen. And really, it's just training, right? Robots have three main functions, right? You have mechanical, you have electrical, and you have software. With the times, we're very much cloud connected. So there's a lot of remote, troubleshooting we can do. But the things that are needed for the electrical and the mechanicals, general upkeep, general maintenance, making sure things are clean. If something looks wrong, say something so that we can get to it before it actually happens. You want to be able to, you're paying for a piece of equipment. It's, you want to take care of it. You want to make it last. You want to do the best you can. So being able to have, contracts where you can come in and fix it, clean it, whatever that may be, those are things you can work out with your distributors. But, as United Robotics Group, we offer robots as a service, right? So one of the things we do is, if you have a problem with it, we'll ship you out a new one, send that one back so we can repair it. It's one of those things where the technology is so advanced at this point where these things can happen. And I think it's a great selling feature for a lot of this stuff. So there's a couple ways around it, right? And it's just, training. One of the things that I really focused on in some past jobs was training service techs. We would hire a lot of third-party contractors to kind of come out and help us because, we had a smaller team. It was about 20 people, but we serviced the whole North America. And to do that, you can't only have 20 people. You need, groups of people to kind of help there. So building up training programs, documentation, making sure that schematics are available, making sure that best practices are available to those guys that are helping you out in the field and keeping your products up and running well.
Yeah, no, and like you said, like being in the service business, I mean, obviously it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, machinery and equipment breaks down, because especially when you're using something, you look at combi ovens that are workhorses in these kitchens, someone might have spent 30,000 or whatever, 40,000 on these ovens, and they're working 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day. Eventually something's going to happen. but again, best practices, maintenance, all these different things are important. I know when we first started talking about Play-Doh, we were talking about some of the things that could be done, like the wheels, making sure the wheels are clean. How simple is that? But, making sure that someone understands they need to do these things on a daily basis can really avoid a lot of problems. And again, robotics, there's a lot of software involved. There's a lot of, it's kind of a different style of repair, I would say, for our field, especially. And it goes back, like you hit it. I mean, it's training and getting technicians, not just here, but across the country, that are going to be seeing these things. And I think that's an exciting part of the trade, because it's not just, again, plumber Pete coming in with his tool belt. I mean, it's so far surpassed what that used to be. I mean, it's yeah, there's wrenches and but when you look at it from this angle, I mean, it's data driven stuff, it's software, it's the evolution of the technician as well. So it's pretty cool time.
I have to say, I love that aspect of it. Coming from, I'm an engineer at heart. It's kind of my background. It's what I do. Even working with technicians, I love that. I love getting my hands dirty. I love doing things, but at the same time, being a technical person, you want to do more. You want to learn more. Once you get something down, maybe, I know how to fix your broaster oven. I'm the guy that always comes out and fix your oven, because I know that in and out. But what's the next thing, right? What's the next thing I can learn and be good at? And what's the next thing I can kind of tinker with and figure out how it can kind of work? And, I think it's exciting for field techs as well. I mean, they're going to get to learn a new trade, a new aspect of life, and it's going to make them even more invaluable than they already were.
And that's what it is too, right? I mean, there's such a deeper reward than just the pay as well. They're going to be valuable to themselves and their company. Obviously, that probably comes with a little bit more pay, and then the reward of being able to jump into these places and get things going, which I know technicians love to do. You ask any of the best, they love going into a place, knowing that something's down, and leaving knowing that they've solved it. I mean, there's no greater feeling for them. And when you put these, robotics are going to become a piece of that puzzle. That's going to be another one of those like feel good moments every time they get to go in there and save the day for restaurants. It's huge what we do.
For sure. I do want to comment on the one last question. Part of Jason's question was, what innovations need to be made to facilitate that? I will say manufacturers do need to do better. I think that's really important. They have to think about what happens after the product's out in the field. It's important to have all the great features. It's important to have it easy to use. It's important to have it that it fits into the environment and people love it, right? But the longevity of the product, the stickiness of the product is that it can always be up and running whenever it needs to be up and running, and having your product do that, I think that's a huge aspect of it. So
yeah, that was a great comment. Manufacturers need to do better, and I think to learn some of this stuff, especially from the cooking side, and on this angle of it, technicians have an abundance of information, that the stuff that they see in the field, and what better people to ask than the people seeing it and working on it after the sale in the elements. They have design ideas, and we should be picking their brains a lot more. So I think that's a very true statement.
Yeah, and I think at United Robotics Groups, that's one of the things we really love is that feedback, that customer interaction, what matters, what do we need to do to be better, and that's what we do. We strive to be better. So
yeah, absolutely. And do we have anything else, Lisa?
In terms of comments,
questions or comments?
I just have Christian had joined in from 24/7 Restaurant Equipment. He said, "What's up, guys?"
There he is.
Christian, long time no see.
Let's see. What are the potential implications of robotics on the workforce in the food service industry? We touched on a lot of this stuff, but
yeah, no, we can get a little bit more specific. I think, the implications of the workforce is we are adapting to the workforce challenges. We're not pressuring it, right? We're not pressuring the workforce out. These wouldn't be solutions if they weren't problems, right? If there wasn't a workforce problem, we wouldn't have to find a solution for it. I mean, as humans, this is kind of what we do. We find answers to problems that we have. If it's not a problem, we let it go, right? I mean, you don't fix a non-squeaky door, right? I mean, it's one of those things.
Right.
The food service industry has been made by humans for so long, and we're now at a point in time where it wasn't really touched and it wasn't really pressured into it unless it was on the manufacturer's side of, mass scale production of food. But now that, the restaurants themselves are seeing issues with, workforce, it's how do we solve those problems, right? So I think that's kind of where that's coming from. But as it kind of gets more adopted, I think people are going to start being a little bit more technologically savvy to use these things. I mean, the comment we always get is, oh, so it's kind of like an iRobot. Well, in theory, yes, right? It moves around, it maps the area, and it does a certain task. But if you know how to use that, if you can kind of move right into Play-Doh pretty easily. I mean, with Play-Doh itself, and I was at a casino a couple weeks ago, and one of the ladies was 60s, and she picked it up right away, and she's now the nighttime person that is responsible for running Play-Doh to the different areas. It's fantastic to see. I mean, in our company's LinkedIn page, you'll see teenagers just kind of playing with it and making it go do things, building a map quickly and easily. The younger generation wants life easier, and I get that, right? It makes sense. I'm all for it, but we still need to work, and we still need to get to that point. So how do we make technology kind of work for that? How many times have you tried to help your 80-year-old dad to use his cell phone, right? I mean, the adoption of the cell phone is a great example. It took a while. The early adopters picked it up, used it, figured out new uses for it, and made it even better. Same thing with robotics and automation. It's going to be one of those things where the early adopters come in, they're using it, they're the ones ahead of the game, pushing the technology to use it. And the people that are around it will benefit from it, from the learning and the experiences. So it's here to stay. So it's coming. It's not going anywhere, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. And roll with it.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. I think over time you go from the radio to the TV, and TV. Now everything's internet based and apps and all. It's just there's constant evolution, and virtual reality, VR, all this stuff. I mean, who knows what's next? I mean, there's nothing stays the same, and I for the businesses or the people out there that are saying, oh, this is going to ruin. It's not about ruining. It's not going to ruin anything. It's you just have, if you want to continue to be, I think, at the top of your industry, the top of your business, the top of your game, you have to evolve with the things that are happening. You can't fight it. It's and this is this is just one step, I think, in that direction. And Lisa, do you have something?
Yeah, I guess I have a question about maybe Brock has some insight as to how businesses could effectively manage integrating these robots and making their employees feel comfortable enough to utilize them to their advantage.
Yeah, for sure. Say maybe like 2010, 2005, right around there, collaborative robots started coming into the manufacturing world. And there was a lot of seminars on this. There was a lot of talks about how do you get a robot that doesn't need all these safety guards and things like that to come in and work next to people. What the approach was, and a lot of the big approaches, was take the things that people don't want to do away with automation. And I think that same theory can apply to the food service industry, right? There's tasks in in a restaurant that you just don't want to do. It sucks. It's terrible. It's not fun. No one wants to drop a plate, right? No one wants to have to constantly run back and forth. So finding the simple applications is always the best way to go. Finding a very easy use case. Maybe it's not a huge winner in terms of time savings, or maybe not in regards to Play-Doh, but in something else that you use. But it brings it in, and it allows it to be part of the operation. And you start learning to live with that kind of technology. And then you're like, well, it'd be really cool if we could do this as well. And that's where those kind of steps take to really explode that automation inside of there. So, I always take the approach in my career was find the easy ones first, and then start challenging the hard ones, right? So maybe flicking the fly off the soup is a little bit more challenging, but we can at least get your food from point A to point B. So, that's what I love. I think it's really important to kind of really focus on the easy ones and then kind of go from there.
Yeah.
And I have a great question from Jason as well. He asked, what kind of cost gap is there between buying and maintaining a robot versus hiring a human to do the same job? And how does that change over the life of the unit?
That's great.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a really good question. No, that's again, dollars and cents at the end of the day.
Right.
United Robotics Group with Plato, we advertise 3-year contract for a lease agreement for Plato, $20 a day. I mean, if we talk about the hourly cost of a person, so I'm more on the technology side, so I'm not going to speak to, how much does a server cost, how much does an expo cost, et cetera. So that's, but I know $20 a day is going to be a lot cheaper than hiring that person for a day. Maybe this robot isn't being used all day long, but at $20 a day, if you use it for 2 hours, you've already made your money back, even if it's during the lunch and the breakfast brunch, the maintaining of it, right? Because it's on a lease agreement, that cost falls to us on United Robotics Group or the distributors that work with us, right? They'll be the ones that kind of handle that. Sometimes there is a setup cost, right? So you get that initial fee to kind of make that work. But, now you're getting all this training and you have a robot that's ready to go. To do the same job, I think that's a difficult kind of concept, right? Because one person can do many things, sometimes they're folding napkins, putting, rolling up, silverware, they're restocking shelves or restocking, whatever that may be, filling up ketchup bottles, all these little tasks that kind of need to be done. But if we can start eliminating the easy ones with automation and robotics, we can now have them focus on the more important things that are more suitable for human, more creative, more fulfilling jobs, things that, people are going to be excited to get up to come to work. They're not going to be late. They're not going to want to jump ship just because they, found another job that makes another $1 an hour, right? They're doing things that they enjoy and they love, and, there's a right fit for each person in a company and especially restaurant businesses. So I think, again, the gap it can be measured in some senses, but in other senses, I think there's also the humankind aspect of that you really grow into and you find as well.
Yeah. And you go here just in our town, you look at every window, and Lisa could probably attest to this too. I mean, help wanted, looking for people, looking for people, looking for people. I don't think it's just here. I think it's everywhere.
And it's funny because a lot of the help wanted is for what is it? The runners, not the runners, but the
Yeah, I
person
mean,
that cleans the tables.
they're looking for busboy, bar back, whatever you want to
Bar back,
stuff
there you
like
go.
that. They're looking for dishwashers. Of course, they're looking for delivery drivers. I mean, I mean, even down South Jersey, diners. I mean, they're looking for cooks. They're looking for different people. There's so many positions open and available, and I think today more than ever, people want purpose, right? They want that. They want to wake up, like you said, wake up feeling good to go to where they work, and they want to create change, and they want to do good. And I'm not saying that, go get a robot, it's going to change everyone's life, but I think the conversation is open to discussion as far as, like you said, doing some of these menial things. If I'm a server, I want to, I better be a people person if I want to make good tips. But I want to be at the table. I want to be greeting people. I want to be doing all that stuff. And truth be told, I do love all that. So when I open a restaurant, I'll be excited to put my Play-Doh front and center. But I think it's an important step to understanding how critical it could be to employee morale.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's huge. So I like it.
And what you to point out what you guys both just said, I basically just got that robotics might, I'd argue, create a more human experience.
You might be right, because
Yeah.
from what we were just talking about, right? Yeah, I mean, hey Plato, hey, can we get these plates? Let's get these drinks going. All right, let's let Plato take that back to the kitchen because he knows the lay of the land. We made sure of that. What are we doing for dessert, guys? What's your favorite? Are you a cheesecake? I mean, you could start getting personal, start really diving in and learning about people, so they know, planting the seed, like, hey, I'll see you guys next time, because you want them to come back. The more they come back, the more money goes in your pocket.
Exactly.
So we do have some more comments coming in here. Jason says, last one, I promise. How has the explosion of AI changed how robots are designed or maintained? And how will it change the jobs that robots might do?
Man, how much time do we have? It's a great question. And honestly, I'm not an AI expert. I use AI in some of my daily tasks. I use AI in the company that we work for, past companies I've worked for. it's a very hot topic right now, and it's one of those things where you want to. I think AI is it's here to stay, obviously, right? Depending on what happens with companies that are developing this, whether it's strict purpose of a function, as in, like I said, my last company where it was find a foreign object in something, right? So quality inspection systems, or it's find the best pathway from point A to point B so Plato can get there, um, or it's having it be an interaction of people, right? So hosting, serving, helping those kinds of things out, showing a menu off, using your, don't want to say using your data, but using your preferences and your likes when you get a Shoppers Club card to know, what kind of food you're going to want to buy that week. AI has a lot of purposes. I think we're just on the cusp of what can be done. Um, you know, there is a difference between AI and some other things that were done in the past in terms of, you know, um, decision tree analysis, right? So if this, then that kind of actions. When we talk about maintenance, you're talking more about this preventative maintenance kind of action of, I know that let's talk about ovens because I know ovens from other industries and it's a really good example. But, my temperature sensor, maybe it takes too long for the oven to get up to 500 degrees, right? I now can determine that, hey, maybe I have something wrong in my heater coil. Maybe there's something wrong in my power supply. Maybe I'm losing this, right? So it's how do you build your equipment to see what's going on and see what's wrong versus and being able to keep it maintained and make the changes that you need to do, or send that issue saying, hey, please service now, or call your local service rep to come in and check this out. And then being able to have that data and make that analysis of that decision of, okay, I know this is wrong or this is going bad, right? It's not that it's broken yet, but it's getting there, right? So this predictive maintenance is huge for what can be done. Now, the problem is it costs more, right? And that has always been the challenge in a lot of industries is it costs more to add these functionalities into a product. I am a big proponent of it. I think it's a great aspect of a product to know when things are going to go wrong because downtime is the enemy. I think in terms of automation and robotics, one of those things is you don't want it to go down because once it's working and you're using it and it's part of your operations, the last thing you want to do is have that thing go down. So knowing when things are starting to go wrong or things are starting to, maybe deteriorate and it needs a service visit, it's great. I think that's a huge aspect of it. But AI in general, it's going to change a lot of landscapes. I think we're just on the precipice of it, and there's going to be a boom. So, I think I went in there. I was programming a little Arduino, and I asked it to write a code for me, and something that would take me 4 hours to kind of map out and build and kind of do that, it did it in 30 seconds. So the time saving, I think it's going to be where it's really helpful right now. But who knows where it goes next?
Yeah.
So I have another long comment I just want to bring in here. I have found that robotics manufacturers lease equipment rather than sell it. When talking to service providers such as us who have a business model that is designed around selling parts, what is your industry's answer to the gap? Is it as simple as increased hourly rate? And if so, what is the national average for companies such as ours to make this customer a priority? Rich, I feel like you can speak on that.
Yeah, I mean, is that Rusty?
That is Rusty.
Rusty, how are you, brother? Yeah, no, I'm in that field, right? I'm in that, we sell two things here. We sell time and we sell parts, and we want to be able to do both when that instance arises. So, yeah, I mean, and when you look at it, talking about priority, for us in our field, again, labor has soared. Technicians and along with insurances and everything else that is completely soaring right now. We have to have a labor rate that's fair to the business, above all else. And aside from that, when we being able to sell the part, things take priority here. We have priority ones, priority twos, and it's not to say that we don't care about all the customers, at the same. I mean, we're grateful for the business, but in the same token, we have priority customers. We have priority movements when it comes to certain things. So I think, Rusty's probably touching on that point from the robotics spectrum, as far as, yeah, they're probably going to be, well, probably, and maybe you could talk on that. I would say probably leasing is probably something that restaurant owners or assisted livings or wherever the application may be, might be leasing versus buying. And, where does the service company fall in line to be able to make money? Because that's obviously what we're here for every day. That's what we put our boots on for, to make money as well. So, how do we make it a priority? Is the labor rates and the part sales and everything of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, think about this may not be so applicable to Play-Doh in a sense, because we've designed this product to be extremely simple, but I think automation in general is an interesting aspect. There's not a shortage of service technicians in the automation world. In terms of this leasing versus buying discussion, I think what really comes into play is OpEx versus CapEx costs, right? Your operating costs versus your capital expenditures, right? It's
Yes.
easier to front a monthly payment than it is to drop a 5 to 6 figure cost just for an automation, right? You can bring it in, you can try it, you can work with it, you can learn it. And I think that's where service industry needs to change as well, right? They need to learn new things. They need to bring their skills levels up to match the products that they're going to be working with. Being able to come in, set up this equipment, learn from the manufacturers, know how it works. I mean, piece of automation equipment that's commercialized is built to be multi-use case. With United Robotics Group, we're doing all different industries in the hospitality world. We have a hospitality vertical specifically because of this, right? But the needs of a senior living facility may be a little bit different than the needs of the small coffee shop. And being able to have that service tech that can come in and have it be very specific to your industry, it's a big benefit. I see Mike wrote that the lease of equipment is a write-off. I mean, I'm not a tax lawyer, so I'm not going to comment on it. But if that's the case, I mean, who doesn't want a bigger tax write-off, right? I mean, it just helps. So, again, I circle back to if the industry is changing because of robotics and automation, are the support industries that go with it changing with it, right? Or are you living in the past, or not past, but not to be harsh about it, but are you sticking with what you know and not evolving, or are you trying to evolve and be part of the new revolution that's kind of coming through this market?
Yeah. I'm with it. What else we got, Lisa? Anything?
I was just gonna say, we're talking about Play-Doh, and people might not know what Play-Doh is, and I do know that Christian's watching, so he's saying, "Come see it in action at 24/7 restaurant equipment."
Well, that's true. I mean, yeah, Chris, if you're in the Jersey Shore area, or if you're in New Jersey and New York City area or whatever, they're in the tri-state. Yeah, Chris, we could always get you to see this. Especially if you're a chef, restaurateur, if you're assisted living, hospitality, dentists, dentist office, right? I think I saw something posted about a dentist office. What other applications besides a restaurant are we really seeing this?
Oh man! So think about this as something to move from point A to point B, right? Let's say you got a small warehouse. I think we were at an event last night, and Christian was telling me about a company that just made shirts, right? But moving that, assume there's some type of a warehouse, and you've got to move product from one area to another. Play-Doh can hold 10 kilograms per shelf and 20 on the bottom. Throw a box on there, have it run to the front to the back, right? If you need something in one place versus another, have it move it for you. Use these aspects of it of why am I carrying or pulling this heavy load when something can do that for me. So wherever you're moving stuff from back and forth, if you need it to, dentist office is an interesting one because we're working with some hospitals and things like that and labs and whatnot. And, if you're working in a room and you need something, call Play-Doh over to bring it for you. Hey, Susie, can you please load up Play-Doh with this, this, and this? And Susie loads it and sends it over to, person who's waiting for it. So, again, Play-Doh is a product of many uses, and what it does really well is it's a friendly way of taking something from one place to another. So there's
Yeah.
tons of aspects of it. I mean, just going back to the food, I mean, we were in a food court and the original application was to bus tables. It ended up being a cake runner for the restaurant where they had 3 different kinds of desserts, and it was just running around the food court and people were just picking up what they wanted, how they wanted it. I mean, it was a buffet style kind of thing, but you know, it's that wow factor. It's that marketing aspect of it. Everyone's got their phones out. Everyone's saying, "Hey, I'm here. Come check out this robot. Look at what this robot did. Look at my new little friend." It's interactive and people love that. And that brings more people to your facility. So, but then you find the usefulness of it. Like I said, like you can move something from point A to point B. And, that's huge. So.
Yeah, I mean, I see it in supermarkets going up and down the aisles. Maybe it has a bunch of specials, stuff they want to push and promote, and maybe in a liquor store you have like a special, some kind of, maybe even throwing Red Bulls. I remember we were talking about this one point, throwing Red Bulls on there. Don't forget to pick your Red Bull up. Goes with your vodka that's on shelf number 2. Grab the vodka, grab the Red Bull for the kids to go drinking that. I don't drink that anymore.
No, I mean, yeah, again, the marketing aspect of it is huge, right? So if you've got a little store and, you work with your local, whatever brand distributor and you say, "Hey, I've got this robot. Do you want to do a special with me?" Maybe they front you the bill for that month, right? Because they've got marketing budgets. So let them front you the bill for that month and put their product on it. Just have Play-Doh run the store, right? I mean, not only do you have it, but you're finding new uses for it and new use cases for it and things like that. And that's what we're seeing. I mean, we're got a lot in Europe. We are kind of expanding out throughout, US. There's different things being found all over the place, and it's exciting. So.
It is. It's exciting times. I love it all. So anything else we got, Lisa?
So Rusty asked a question. He said, this is in regards to, I guess, service companies changing, right? Does the change allow us to be the leaser or the sales agent?
I'll let the sales guys kind of discuss that a little bit, but 24/7 Restaurant, they're a distributor of ours, and I know they're being creative with how they're kind of working with this. And I don't want to speak for them at all, but whether it's a 1 week lease of a trial purpose or a multiple month, multiple year, whatever that may be, as a distributor of the product, we can kind of work with you on that one and kind of figure that out. So I don't want to speak for our sales team or anything like that, but there's options. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think there is options, and Rusty, they're Vanco. They're out in the Jesus. Vanco is bring me back to earth here, Rusty. You guys are in the Midwest. Are you guys in the Illinois area? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now, but yeah, I mean, if there's a distributor out there already or not, I don't know, but
Indiana.
Indiana, and I think for us as Maliki Parts and Service and different things, we're evolving into more and more into different avenues here to be that ultimate one call for everything for our customers, and I think robotics is something interesting. I think if that's something to add to, maybe you want to add to the Vanco services and distribution model type thing, and I'm sure there's opportunity to reach out, whether it's to United Robotics or to whoever. I'm not want to speak for anybody, but with Christian, when he with 24/7 restaurant equipment, one of the things is he wanted to diversify. He wanted to be something fresh, something new, and this is everything that checked all the boxes along with all the other distributorships that he's piling on. And yeah, I mean, I think it's an opportunity for a lot of new revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
What else?
Yeah, Indiana, Kentucky. I mean, that's great. Yeah, there's plenty of business in the Midwest. So.
Rusty just added that absolutely. As our industry evolves, we are all looking at additional revenue streams.
Oh yeah, we have to evolve or die. So I think that might be a good place to end it. We hit on so many critical points. I think Burak, you really killed it and brought a lot of information to everybody here today. So to everyone out here watching, thank you. There's going to be a replay. So for the people that are watching again or watching the replay, thank you. Brock, any closing remarks or statements, or should we go visit any websites?
Yeah, United Robotics Group. Just kind of Google it, you'll find us, or just Plato United Robotics Group. You'll see us all over. We're big in marketing. Um, we kind of that's the best way to find us. I think we'll post some contact information. I'm sure Rich in our in the description box or whatever that may be on how to reach out to 24/7 if you're local to the Jersey, New York area, or if you're in the other parts of the country and you kind of want to reach out to us, we'll have that contact information available for you. So YouTube United Robotics Group, you'll be able to find a lot of videos. LinkedIn United Robotics Group, you'll be able to find us there. A lot of events globally of kind of what's going on. I would say our YouTube channel is excellent. We have a nice little 10 video series, a couple minutes each, of how easy it is to go from unboxing to use and even reboxing. So check it out, see what we can do, see how we can help your facility. So it's exciting. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, no, this was great. Thank you for the time. And hopefully this will just be the first of many conversations we have down the road.
Definitely.
So thanks again, brother. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. That was Lisa, what do you think? I mean, Burak really he was on fire. He gave some really, really great information, answered these questions.
Absolutely. And Burak, if you're still watching, seriously, thank you. That was very insightful.
It was, when you're doing live shows, you never know how it's all going to turn out. You try to prepare, you get some questions, you get some things aligned. I think that was a 10 out of 10. I hope you all enjoyed it. So Lisa, next week, to Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, again, Fired Up Live. Ladies and gentlemen, what we got going on? Who's coming?
Next week, we have Nick Cribb and Super Tech University. It will be Coaching Technicians for Success.
I like it. I love it. And the same conversation we were having here with robotics and technicians, and the exciting times of learning new things. That's all gonna flow right into next week as we dive in with some real industry leaders on this topic. So that's awesome. But yeah, please.
Rusty says, way to be on the cusp of the industry changes. Great job.
Yes, thanks, Rusty. Appreciate you. We're doing our best. That's all I can tell you. And what was I going to say, Lisa?
That you hope everyone has a great week, and we'll see them next week.
Oh, all right. I guess so. So yeah. So thank you everyone again for watching, and again, thank you to Burak and to United Robotics Group for all the amazing information and the great conversation. We're gonna do it again next week. Set your clock, hit subscribe, hit follow, hit like, do whatever you got to do. Fired Up Live is in full effect. Stay fired up. I'll see you on the next one.